Hello, everybody. I'm Barry Johns. Thank you for watching Studio Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the Lauten Audio snare mic. Let me try and get that in focus here for you today. We're going to be talking about this snare mic today. Again, it's by Lauten Audio, and I'm pretty excited about this thing. I'm going to give you a chance to check out some audio samples a little bit later in the video here. But at first, I'll kind of talk about some of the features of this particular microphone and as well as the packaging and everything. So let's talk about the packaging first. You know, you get, of course, the snare mic. You get its own little mic clip right here. And then it comes with something I thought was pretty funny. It comes with this bandana, as you can see, Care for Snare. Let me turn this around. I'm sorry. There we go. Care for Snare. You can read it better there. And you can see made for use on snare, which I thought was pretty cool, and everything across the top of that. So anyway, they include that. That's kind of fun. I also include this little carrying pouch with a zip bag here and everything to throw that into. Okay, so let's talk about some of the controls on the side of this. You have two dip switches on it, and they are set to the left and to the right. You can see, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's one there and then one over. So each one of my index fingers, there's one there. I probably didn't get that in focus very well for you. But as far as a high-pass filter, you can do 80 hertz, which is all the way to the right, and 140 hertz, which is in the middle. As far as a low-pass filter, which is really important for snare, and you can do 5K as well as 12K. Of course, you can bypass both of those and not do any high-pass or low-pass filtering if you choose to do so. I would say that's probably about 5 inches long. It's a little stubby, but this sucker is heavy, heavy, heavy. I mean, it feels like a solid mic that if it got dropped on the ground and 50,000 times, which is likely to do, it's going to land and survive just fine. Okay, so that's going to be comparing this to an SM57, which is what most of us probably have used mostly on our snare drum, both on the top and the bottom. So let's talk about the top and the bottom compared to that. You know, I've read where sometimes I think some people were saying that you don't really need a bottom mic when you use this. Well, I've got all the audio samples has it with the top mic, with the bottom mic, and without the bottom mic, and you can come to your own conclusions on that. And I'll tell you my opinions after we watch or listen to the audio samples. But anyway, you've got that aspect of it. So whether or not you need to use a bottom snare mic, that only will matter to what you're trying to do, and you can come to your own conclusions there. I know I have my own opinions. Okay, and then, you know, outside of that, the next feature of this thing is the bleed through or lack thereof of the hi-hat, and I'm also going to be demonstrating some examples of it there. Knowing when I'm hitting that hi-hat in the audio samples, I'm beating the living daylights out of that thing. I mean, it's no joke. I'm really hammering that thing much harder than your average drummer would be, and you can get a chance to see how much bleed through is actually happening. All I can tell you is give you a hint. It's a heck of a lot less than an SM57. Price-wise, I think this is somewhere between $300 and $400 price range compared to an SM57. I haven't looked up the price of that here recently, but I'm guessing maybe about $140, $145, somewhere in that range is my guess on what an SM57 is going for. So anywhere from 2 to 2.5 times the cost of an SM57. That's what you're going to have to weigh whether or not this bad boy is worth spending that money on, and are the benefits enough to justify that additional cost. And I'll share with you my opinions on that as well. But before we get to the audio samples, I need to talk about today's sponsor. And today's sponsor is going to be the artisanwoodshed.com. That's artisanwoodshed.com. That is a secondary business that my wife and I have created, where we create all kinds of wood-based products, whether it's cutting boards, charcuterie boards, cheese trays, as well as both with hardwoods and well as slab wood, as well as resin work. Okay, so let's go over there and take a look at some of the things that you can check out on our website. All right, so here as we're checking out our website, artisanwoodshed.com, you can see that we make boards of various sizes and thicknesses to suit whatever your needs may be, whether it's going to be an end grain cutting board, which is the highest quality cutting board that money can buy, will literally last you an entire lifetime if properly cared for, or you can go with that mid-tier of an edge grain cutting board that will give you a lot of the benefits but will not be quite as durable as an edge grain after decades of use. And so beyond that, you can see edge grain, end grain, as well as our cheese boards and charcuterie boards and things like that. If you go over to the other part of the website that shows our boards in use, you'll see a lot of the resin work that we've done. We've also got some guitar-shaped cutting boards out there shaped like a Telecaster, which is an exact dimensions of a Telecaster. So we encourage you to go into our Etsy shop where you get a chance to see all of the current boards that we have in stock right now. But of course, if you need something custom made, there's a contact button at artisanwoodshed.com where you can just reach out to us directly. Tell us what you're looking for, dimensions, thicknesses, whether you want resin involved in it or just a straight cutting board, and whether you want end grain or edge grain cutting board. And you can even select the species of wood, assuming they're available here in Central Florida at our local hardwood lumber store, which does source from around the world for the record, and we can give you an estimate on that. So anyway, check it out if you can, artisanwoodshed.com. Now, let's get on to the audio samples and check out the Lauten Audio snare mic. All right, so now you've got a chance to check this thing out. I think it does a very good job. So let's talk about some of the things that I mentioned before the audio samples. Can you use this just as a top snare mic and not do a bottom snare? Does this capture enough of the bottom snare to give you the sound you're looking for? I think for some people that question is probably yes, but for many of us, including myself, no. I'm going to want that crispness, that brightness that comes by blending in that bottom snare. But that said, I could get by in a pinch. Now, you could also use something like Trigger and just use with the recording for this, especially if you limited I/O on your recording interface and you're trying to capture a whole drum set, as well as get some scratch tracks. You may not have all of the inputs that you need, and you can also replace this using Trigger as your bottom snare mic. So leave this recording on your top snare, and then, of course, do your bottom snare with a sample from Trigger. So anyway, when it comes to that, now how did it sound? In my opinion, I think this thing sounds great. I think it does a fantastic job of capturing a snare in the perfect way. I think having the high pass and the low pass dip switches make it relatively idiot proof. Once you find that sound you're looking for, you don't have to fuss around with EQ for that type of thing. In the mix, you have to EQ it for other reasons. But I think they provide plenty of great options for getting a killer snare drum sound. Now, the thing that I love about it the most, and for me, what makes it the most compelling, and that is that lack of bleed over from the hi-hat. Again, as I said before this, I was really banging that hi-hat. I mean, really hard, overdoing it, quite frankly. And the bleed was next to non-existent, which is not easily done with an SM57. Getting phase on this as well as the top and the bottom mic, getting phase set properly was a piece of cake. And I thought overall this thing does a fantastic job. Only you can decide, is it worth 2 to 2.5 times the cost of a traditional SM57? In my opinion, yes. But you have to come to your own. The two parts of the drum kit, and I can argue there's 3 parts of a song that are the most critical. First and foremost is your vocal. Second is going to be your snare drum. And third is going to be your kick drum with everything else blended around it. So where I'm going to invest in the best mics and the best mic preamps that I can afford at the time is going to be on vocal, snare, and kick, so I can get the best tone possible. I always strive to never use any kind of samples unless I'm doing it for a particular flavor for some reason. I always want to strive to get the very best recording that I can, and I'm confident you can do that with this mic. Of course, you can do that great with an SM57, as testimony's been made on countless thousands and thousands of recordings. And so ultimately, yes, it does have a hefty price tag, but I think it's worth it. That's just my 2 cents, and that's kind of what you came here for, that and the audio samples. So anyway, if you got a chance to check this mic out, do me a favor, leave some comments down below. Tell me what your experiences have been. Also, if you haven't yet, go out and watch some of the other reviews out there. There's plenty of other really good reviews on this, and really can put that whole snare in context to a whole kit. At the same time, I tried to do something somewhat different with today's video, but go check those out and see what you think. Don't just look at mine or listen to mine. Go check out others and see what you get, and really make an informed decision that way. But regardless of all this stuff, leave comments down below. Tell me what you think about it, any questions you may have. I'll try to answer them if I can in the future. But until next time, hope all of you have a great day. Bye-bye.